Hey, this is Dr. Jen and welcome to my free training, 3 practice hacks to have a life instantly. You are a total superstar, and because you're here, I know that you're interested in building your practice in a different way, of breaking away from the burnout or breaking away from the stress or maybe even preventing it altogether. And the fact that you and I are here together today shows a lot, and I love you for stepping up, and I so appreciate you for stepping up, and I cannot wait to share these 3 practice hacks with you. And I want to give you a framework of what we're going to cover on this training today. Before we do that, to make sure that you're getting the most out of this training. And I want to start with a quick little backstory here. When I left a high volume associateship back in 2008, I was burned out and overweight and had bad relationships in my life. I mean, I was just like a total hot mess. And my practice in life was nowhere where I wanted to be. Everything in my life was skewed towards a practice, and unfortunately it was a practice that I didn't even enjoy being in. And I woke up at this crossroads realizing I need to completely reinvent the way that I practice, but also the way that I live, because I realized something really important. I realized that the way that I was being taught to practice and the way that I believe a lot of us in the health and wellness industry are being taught to practice is so backwards. We're taught to focus so much on our practice that there's no conversation for our life or our vision or where we want it all to look like. Like, what's our bigger why in all of this, you know? And the frustrating thing then is that all of the pressure gets put on the investment of your time and your resources and money and efforts, and you spend months to years of your life trying to get this practice to the point where you can finally make a living and take some time off and then have your life. And I didn't want that for myself. I'd already wasted 2 years of my life in a practice that was running like that. So I wanted to completely flip the switch. And that's why I'm stepping up for you here today. And that's what I want you to get out of this training. Because I'm guessing that because you're watching this and you signed up for this training, that you're looking for that too. That there's a party that's not fulfilled with practice. Am I right? Like, you're looking for something more in your life. But I'm also guessing that part of this also feels like such a big leap, right? Like, I talk about this idea of a lifestyle practice, and you may be thinking, Dr. Jen, how in the world am I going to make this work? This seems like such a big shift for me. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of things that you're going to want to do and change to get to that practice that you want and reinvent who you are and what you're doing. But I'm going to tell you something really important. The reason why I did these 3 practice hacks, and I'm giving this to you, is that there's also such a power in creating small, subtle changes and shifts to create the big changes that you want. So this is not going to be about some type of massive overhaul or like a practice makeover kind of thing. It's too overwhelming, and especially too overwhelming to try to do in one video. That's not what this is about. This is about empowering you with 3 really simple steps, and I like to call them my hacks because they are my hacks to create a lifestyle practice in a totally different way, is to help show you the power that by making these 3 small changes, that they are powerful changes, and you can start to feel the benefit of that instantly. Like, I'm talking overnight, like today, kind of fast changes, all right? So I want to share that with you because this is about you starting to get results now. This is about you being able to see changes and shifts now, and also giving you that sense of empowerment and that confidence that, you know what, I can do this. I can make this kind of change right now. Because I'll tell you, a lot of times why a lot of the health and wellness professionals out there who are looking for something different but just stayed stuck for like months or years in the same practice model is because they feel like they have to do so many different things all at once. And it doesn't have to be the case. It's about making small changes over time and focusing on those small changes over time. It's just like any big goal in life. Changing the way you practice and the way you live, it's like losing weight or wanting to significantly increase your income level. What are the cumulative changes that you're doing over time? I actually worked with a personal trainer who talked to me about the goal of losing weight. I had the goal of losing like 30 pounds. And the impatient part of me wanted to get it all done right away and get these like fast results, you know? And she's like, Jen, this is cumulative. Every single choice and decision and step that you make creates a cumulative end result. So the good news and the bad news in this, the bad news is that the type of practice that you have right now is based on a lot of cumulative thoughts and actions and behaviors that you've decided and brought into your world to create the type of practice that you want, or excuse me, to create the type of practice you have now. Now, why I think that's bad news is not because those are the thoughts and decisions that you've made, but it's the thoughts and decisions that you've been taught that you have to make, that this is how you have to build a practice. This is our step one to a new path on being cumulative, my friend. This is step one to being able to create a completely different path for you so you can break out of that hamster wheel and you no longer have to feel stuck. And my intention for this is a couple of fold here. These 3 things I'm going to give you, you can implement right now. Start immediately, like today, kind of immediately, all right? They're also going to challenge you to think outside of your practice, which sometimes as a provider can be hard because our life's blood, life work kind of thing can be so focused on the people we serve in our community, our patients or our clients. And I don't want you to forget your life. So as we're looking at these 3 things, I want you to think about your life. How does this relate to the lifestyle that you want so we can build your practice in your life at the same time? And what's really cool about this is that I'm going to challenge you to focus on one specific thing in each of these 3 hacks that you're going to have the opportunity that once you master one in each of these 3, you can replicate this and keep using this 3-step framework to incorporate more hacks into your life and your practice to create that balance and keep building that cumulative effect. Really, really powerful stuff. So we're just about to dive in, but one last thing I want to share with you. As I'm going through each of these 3 hacks, there's a couple of different learning styles that work better for different types of people. You might be the kind of person that just wants to digest this entire training, take it all in like nom nom nom, you want to eat it all up, and then put in the work and put in the effort and start to think about this. Or you might be the kind of person that likes to do it a step at a time. And after I go through each one of these practice hacks, you may want to pause the video and take some time, take a few minutes, take a couple of hours to reflect and write it out and practice and work through what I taught you in each of these concepts. Either approach works, but what I don't want you to do is whichever approach you choose, don't just watch the training and walk away, or just watch the training and think, okay, cool, like this was great and that was awesome, like that was helpful, but then not apply it. I'm going to teach you the framework, but you and I have an awesome opportunity here to work together where I'm going to teach you the framework and then you can take it and run with it. You can take it and start to apply it, but don't miss that step. Don't just digest the training and forget to apply. So I just wanted to put that out there before we dive in and get started. So I hope you're excited. I'm excited. I'm super juiced up. Let's go and dive into the 3 practice hacks to give you a life instantly. All right, now before we dive into this first practice hack, I want to let you know that I've taken another step up for you and I've created a download worksheet for you so you can follow along with these 3 practice hacks. If you haven't downloaded that yet and you're a super visual person, I would go ahead and click the button that you see below this video to download that so you can follow it along the way as you're going through these 3 practice hacks. It helps us be able to make sure that you're applying these concepts and applying this after you go through this training. So let's get started with practice hack number 1 to have a life instantly. The first thing that I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on picking in your life, and with your practice being a part of your life, naturally, I want you to pick one distractor. Here's what I mean by distractor. I want you to pick one thing that you're doing in your life on a day-to-day basis that is taking up tons of time or too much time, or it's super repetitive, or it's something that you can delegate or you can automate, but something that just feels like it's pulling your time away from you. Because one of the reasons why people feel like they're so burned out and they don't have a life because they're spending all of their time in their practice is you feel like time's not on your side. You ever felt that way? I know I did. I know when I was dealing with burnout, I felt like I had no time to do anything. Like I had no time to do like literally nothing, right? Like I barely had enough time to sleep when I got home at the end of a 12-hour day. So why I'm starting with this practice hack is we got to start with kind of a negative ick thing first. We have to figure out where is your time getting sucked away from you? But this is also designed to teach you how can you leverage your time better. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Time really isn't being taken away from us. It's not because we're too busy, it's because we're choosing how we spend our time. We can be choosing to be too busy. We can be choosing that we have to do all of these different things. Now look, again, we're gonna focus on one distractor, right? And you might be thinking there are a gazillion things that are already coming to mind. And when you're in practice, part of that reality that you feel like you have to have is you're taking on all of these different tasks and you have to do all of these different things and all these different roles and responsibilities. Let's take a breath for a second and remember, this is going to be cumulative, all right? We're going to focus on one thing because making one change, it's like making a tiny little snowball at the top of a mountain, and as you start to reap the awesome benefits and rewards of that change, it's going to create this beautiful domino effect for you. So when it comes to starting with one distractor, I really want you to think about this from a couple of different ways. One, what could be a distractor, as an example, that is something that you feel like you have to do, right? Like something that you have to do day in and day out, that you can start to ask yourself and question, do I really have to do this? Can someone help me with this task? Or can I automate this to make this simpler? Or do I really have to spend so much time on it? Another great thing to think of it as a distractor and trying to pick one, and this is really my favorite way to teach it, is I want you to think of something that you're spending your time on that you're really not getting much out of. Like, it's something that you're doing, but it's not really the best use of your time. It may even still feel like it's something that you feel like you have to do, or you just do out of habit and you may not even realize it. And I'm gonna give you two really, really big examples that show up in most people's world that it's taken up more time and more of a distraction now more than ever. And the first one is social media, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I know I spend plenty of time just perusing through Facebook and just looking at what people are posting, and sometimes even doing it a number of times a day. But I'm not really getting anything out of it. I'm not really getting value in my life by doing it, especially when just mindlessly scrolling through the newsfeed just to see what people are up to, right? Like, we're all guilty of doing that. And what could you do with that one distractor? How could you be more efficient with your time on social media? And I'll tell you, by the way, using this as an example, why this is really powerful, why again we start with this practice hack, is again, we're talking about how you're spending your time overall, right? Not just in your practice, but in your life overall, because feeling burned out in practice reflects to how you feel in your life as well. And when things feel off-centered in your balance and off-centered in your life, it's gonna affect both, which is why a lot of what I'm talking about is using lifestyle-based examples. Now, if you feel like you're spending way too much time on like paperwork as an example, and there's one simple thing you can do to streamline that, that's a great example too. But I'm getting a little bit real from a lifestyle standpoint, because I want you to have the end result that after this training, you already feel like you have more of a life. Right? That's the whole point of all of this. You already have more free time. You don't have to work quite as hard as what you have been in before to create more freedom. So I love bringing up social media because that is something that people just spend a ton of time on, but you're not really getting much out of it. And you could maybe check Facebook one time a day as opposed to 10, right? Now, another favorite example, and I'll apply this to when I was at my own crossroads and I just left my high volume associateship and figuring out what was the next step for me, I knew that one of my distractors was email. Hands down. I mean, the amount of time I would check my email in a given day, like, it's almost embarrassing to admit. I'm sure it was a couple of times an hour, easily. And you know what? Most of the time that I was checking my email, guess what? There was nothing new that I needed to check. Nothing really, really urgent that I needed to check, right? The urgent emails that I would absolutely need to get back to would maybe take anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 to 5 emails, and maybe take me 5 to 10 minutes a day. But I was creating this distraction a couple of times an hour for a couple of reasons. One, my focus isn't nearly where it is now. And two, I just wasn't being purposeful with my time. I actually thought I had to check it. Some part of my brain was telling myself, well, I have to check my email. I have to be on. What if a patient messages me? What if someone needs me? And what's really powerful about picking one distractor is you'll also realize that the distractor that you're going to start with and focus on, eliminating from your life or minimizing from your life, is you're gonna realize somewhere in there was probably a little bit of a dependency on that, or a story in your mind telling you, I actually really need to do this, and in hindsight, you really don't. I wanna help show you that there are distractions in your life that are causing you to spend time on things that aren't bringing any enrichment into your life. And in the guide, by the way, I've got a cool little kind of added hack I'm gonna give you, because one of the ways that in picking email as my distractor, is I now use an app called the Freedom app. And it has allowed me to be able to eliminate the incessant checking of email, and it's freed up so much more time in my life, and I've used it for such a long time now. It's made such a difference, like I can't even tell you. So it's a great example that I wanted to share this with you just to make it relevant and share with you in my own story and evolution, like what I did. Now it's your turn. I want you to think about what's one distractor in your life right now that you can focus on, and ideally you're going to focus on either significantly minimizing or eliminating altogether. But just start with one, okay? Now, if you want to pause the video right now and go and focus and just take time to reflect on this, go for it. Or if you want to just keep watching through all the 3 practice hacks, you can do that too. Again, whatever learning style is best for you. But I want you to start with 1. You may even find that as you're starting to brainstorm that like 5 pop into your head right away. Only pick 1. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I want to make sure that you're making this small, simple change. And I want you to do something else that's really powerful for each of these 3 hacks. When you're picking a distractor that you want to focus on eliminating from your life, let's say it's email, I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to write out, what is the end result of eliminating this distractor? How is my life going to benefit from this, right? How is my balance between my practice and my life going to change? What's the domino effect of making this 1 step? I want you to be able to see the end result that you're going to get, because that's going to create some awesome motivation and fuel for you, which you're going to see is also going to tie into these other practice hacks in a second. But that is part of the point. It's one thing for me to tell you like this is what you should do and you go ahead and do it. It's another thing to attach meaning to it and to have some sense on how that's going to benefit you, okay? So practice hack number 1 is going to pick 1 distractor, right? Pick 1, start with 1. Once you've mastered that 1 distractor, and let's say you want to knock out the email obsession and checking it all the time and you want to add in Facebook and minimizing your time on that, that's cool. But do it 1 at a time. So let's start with 1 distractor and watch what happens. Watch the changes in you emotionally, energetically, how you feel and how you're going to show up day by day, just by this 1 practice hack alone, okay? That leads us to practice hack number 2. After you've picked 1 distractor, and do it in this order, by the way, okay? I don't want you to skip ahead because there's a cool progression here that we're doing. After you've picked the 1 distractor, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to define 1, and again 1, what I like to call a game changer. And I'll tell you what I mean by this in a second. But I want to ask you a question first before we break down this practice hack. Are there things right now that you can't do because of how much time you're spending in your practice? Are there things that you're not able to do in your own personal life that you're missing, that you're turning off, that you're putting on hold because you're not making what you want to in practice yet, or you're spending so many hours in practice and working so hard in your practice and doing all these things that you think are right and are going to help you get to the result, but where are you missing out right now? What are you missing out on? And it's a really powerful self-reflective question to ask yourself, because the whole point of this practice hack, by defining 1 game changer, the first step in this is to figure out what's missing in your life right now. I'm talking like the kind of thing that pulls a little bit of your heartstring when you think about it. I'll give you some examples. Are you missing out on dropping your kids off at school, or picking them up after school, or going to a swim meet or a basketball game because you're working in your practice? Are you missing out on that every day if you're a mom or dad? Are you missing out on a date night with someone that you love because you're working evenings in your practice? Are you missing out on some time for self-care? Do you feel like you're not working out as much as you used to, or enjoying the outdoors as much as you used to because I'm so busy and I have to always be in my practice and I have to do X, Y, Z? I want you to think about that first. I want you to think about those gaps, and I need you to think about those gaps to again attach meaning to what's going to be a game changer that's going to literally shift your perception of your day-to-day life and the freedom that you have with what you're doing with your time, especially now that we're going to have one of these distractions out of the way. I'll give you an example for some context, and then I'm going to define more specifically what I mean by defining 1 game changer. Not only when I was working in an associateship, mega high volume, I was there 6 days a week. So like every Saturday also, like Monday through Friday and Saturdays. Sundays are my only day off. Now I could have used Sundays better to do the things that I love to do. Like I'm a total outdoors girl, so I love hiking and rowing and kayaking and all this stuff, right? I could have used my Sundays for that, but I didn't, and I'll tell you why. I was so completely tanked after seeing 300, 400, 500 patients that week. I was so exhausted that oftentimes I spent my Sundays literally just recouping and trying to rest up for the next Monday. And it just felt like a grind. And I realized that I was just missing out on so many things, you know, like being able to go to the farmer's market with my friends on Saturdays or go for an early morning bike ride, you know. And when I started my own practice, I kept the same hours. I still worked Monday through Saturday because I thought that's what I had to do. I was indoctrinated with all this stuff that says you have to work long hours and you have to be available all the time. And then I realized the result that was creating on me and how I was becoming increasingly less dissatisfied or less satisfied and less fulfilled and less present with my patients, right? So I'll tell you my game changer. I wanted my Saturdays back. Just as a starting point, I wanted to get my Saturday mornings back because I knew if I could have the entire weekend off just to chill and decompress, I could also create more time to get more rejuvenated, which would make me more on purpose for my practice, but it would also give me an opportunity to have more time to do the things that I love. That one change, eliminating 4 hours out of my work week, created a landslide of awesomeness for me. Now, I'm gonna say something right now that may be going through your minds, because I'm gonna tell you, one of the #1 game changers that you can do right now is to shave or trim your schedule just a little bit in your practice. Maybe you're not working 5 evenings, maybe you're working 4. Maybe you're not showing up Monday, Wednesday, Friday full days, maybe Monday and Wednesday are full days and then you have 3 half days. There might be a part of you that's saying, I don't have time for that. I don't want to not be available for that. I don't want to turn patients or clients away and not have as many appointments available. I want to ask yourself though, how is that working out for you to be in your practice for all these hours and all the things that you're missing out on? What could that version look like for you if you gave yourself a couple of hours back a week to do one thing that you aren't able to do right now? The one game changer that I wanted to do is go for a 1-hour hike every Saturday. Just a 1 hour. My ideal is going for like a 4, 8, 12-hour hike. Like I'm one of those kind of people, right? Like you just throw me on a mountain all day. That's what I want to do. But I knew if I could start with 1 hour and I had that whole Saturday morning to drive to a place and find a trailhead, that I would instantly feel different. And I did. I instantly felt rejuvenated. I instantly felt more on. Life instantly felt that much more beautiful and I felt that much more free because I made one choice. And you want to know what happened? Because I had that fear. Are patients going to actually still schedule? Am I going to miss out on my Saturday morning patients? You know what they did? When I set my new hours, they just fit into where my hours were. They just rescheduled to another time. It was simple. Because here's the thing that sometimes we forget in practice. That the people that come to us, or for me, I was doing house calls, I was going to them. The point being is that our patients, our clients, the people in your community, if they truly love working with you and are getting results working with you, this is where you have an opportunity to elevate yourself and say, you know what, these are my hours. This is when I'm gonna make myself available, and when I'm available, I am on, and when I'm not available, I am off. But I'm not going to no longer miss out on these things in my life that are important. So my game changer was Saturdays off. And I became this completely happier, more true version of me. I felt more like me just by making that one change. What's yours? What's your one game changer? What's that one little change that you can make in your schedule, in your day-to-day life right now that would make all the difference? Maybe an example is you take off Thursday afternoon so you can pick up your kids from school. Or you take off Monday mornings so you can go to that yoga class you've been wanting to go to. Or you take off Tuesday evening and that's your date night with your fella or your lady. What's one thing? I'm not asking you to go from 60 hours a week to 10, right? I'm asking you to go from 60 hours a week to 58. And then why is that a game changer for you? Right? Think about the things that you're missing out on in your life right now and pick one thing, one game changer that if you could incorporate that into your life right now, it would make all of the difference. And I can't tell you, by the way, I've taught this to a lot of people now, a lot of health and wellness professionals, and one of the common ones that comes back to me, especially from parents, is, oh my God, Dr. Jen, I took off one morning of the week so I could drop my children off to school. One day of the week. I can't tell you how much better I felt. Right? It's powerful. And again, define that one game changer and then think about the results that you're going to experience. How is your world going to change? How are you going to show up differently for your patients, your clients, because you're a little more happier and you have a little more free time, right? And you have a little more balance in your life, right? Just one game changer. And then you're going to start to feel a little more bold. And you may realize, I want to do more than one. I want to take off Tuesday and Thursdays, right? You don't have to. But remember, the whole point of this again is 3 practice hacks to have a life instantly. And this one is huge. I love all three of these hacks, but this one is super huge because you will start to see instant results with it. So again, if you want to pause the video, think about what are the things you're missing out in your life right now. Think about your one game changer. What is one thing you can do right now to be able to do more in your life that you haven't been able to do? And then what's the action step to make that happen? What does that feel like? Right? That's all laid down on the download for you too, so you can follow along with me. But to find one game changer, that is practice hack number 2, and it is going to be a game changer for you. Yes, pun intended. Now this leads us to practice hack number 3, and this is like the big boy. This is like the 30,000 foot view on everything that this training is about, and honestly everything that I'm passionate about teaching and why I'm so glad we're on this training together. Is the next hack that I want you to do is I want you to create one motivator. Now we're gonna go big vision on this stuff, okay? So we've already picked a distractor, something to create more free time in our day-to-day life. We've already created a game changer so you can start like you're feeling more of your life, like you're more on, you're not turning your life off, right? I want you to create one motivator, and I wanna paint out a distinction before I explain what this means. It's not just if you're burned out or stuck or stressed in practice, but more often in life, most people live in a perspective of what? What do I need to do? What do I need to do next? What's this? What's that? You know, etc. And it just becomes this endless list of tasks and to-dos, and it feels like it never ends, right? It can feel like the work never ends, or you're just churning in that constant day-to-day hamster wheel where life and practice is just kind of the same, right? And especially when the burnout creeps in or the stress creeps in, or you want to make sure you don't experience burnout or stress in practice. A lot of times why that burnout does happen is we forget, and it's so simple, but so incredibly important, is we forget the why. We forget, why am I doing all of this in the first place? We forget, why am I showing up in my practice every day? Why do I love taking care of my patients every day? Why am I doing this for myself, more for my family, right? We forget the meaning to the to-dos. We forget the meaning to the tasks, the projects, the appointments so easily because we just get caught up in the work. And that's what the typical practice model is teaching us, just get caught up in the work and do all of the work and schedule more people so you can make more money so you can then have the life. There's no why in this picture. There's no vision in this picture. So I want you to create one motivator. And what I mean by that is I want you to think about creating what is one thing that you can focus on as your motivation. One thing that you can focus on as your why. Now, just like these other two, you may think I have 10 things that motivate me to show up day to day in practice or to feel more on purpose in my life. But think about one that really, really stands out. I'm going to give you an example of mine to help better define this, okay? When I started my own practice and I figured out ways that I could make my schedule go from 60 hours a week to 15 hours a week, right? Way back when I was first getting started. I thought back to when I was an associate, and at the time I was practicing in Washington, D.C., and my family's based in Wisconsin. And I had asked my boss if I could have the day after Thanksgiving off, because Thanksgiving is a really big holiday with my family, like really big, right? It's huge. Lots of tradition, as it is for a lot of families, you know, in America, right? So I just remember asking my boss to have Friday off, and I remember him telling me no. And I remember feeling completely crushed because I knew not only was I going to miss the day after Thanksgiving, I was going to miss Thanksgiving altogether. And that was hard, because living away from my family was one thing. I'm kind of a natural explorer. I like to live in different areas. There's newness to that. But to take away the freedom to be home with my family, that was painful. To not be able to just get on a plane and hop home and take a 2-hour flight to go see my family, that was painful. And it was even more painful when I'm spending Thanksgiving with a very lovely family and very lovely people and a couple of great friends. It was lovely. But the next day going into a practice where we only had 5 appointments, and I was missing out, that was painful. So I remember that when I started my own practice, and I remember part of my motivation from a lifestyle perspective, right? Obviously we're motivated to take care of the people in our community. I want you to think about your lifestyle, right? Have a life instantly kind of perspective. What's your motivation? to build a successful practice so you can reap the results for your life, or to have a practice that's more streamlined? What is your why in that? Because I'll tell you, when I started my practice, I was single at the time, no kids, none of that stuff, right? I just wanted to see my family. I just wanted to be able to go and just see my family whenever I wanted. So I could feed the spontaneous part of me. I could go back and get grounded again and be with people that I love so nearly and dearly. That was my one motivator. I was going to build an efficient, streamlined, simple, effective, low cost, low volume, low pressure, low stress practice, just so I could spend more time with my family. And I use that so that part of this one motivator wasn't just to write it down after watching some training video, right? It's actually to think about it every single day. So just like you would eliminating a distractor from your day-to-day life, now you're going to make a game changer for your day-to-day and week-to-week life. Now I want you to think of one motivator that taps into that deeper why of why do you do what you do? Why do you show up at your practice every day? What is the domino effect for the people in your world, in your life, outside of your practice, right? Your loved ones, your inner circle, yourself. What's your one motivator? Maybe your one motivator is that you get to reap the rewards of having a practice so you can go take a vacation to a country abroad once a year. What is that? And then think about that every single day. I'll tell you, once I put this into practice, I start every single day and I think about my why. Now my why's gotten a lot bigger and I have a lot more motivators now stacked onto this. But I start my day thinking about that why. So everything I do feels centered and on purpose. And I want you to think about what that one motivator is for you. How is that going to make you feel differently? How is that going to make you show up differently, right? What are the different ways that you're going to think and feel now in everything that you do day to day? And what's an action that you can do to make sure you put time to think about this every day? You could take 5 minutes in the morning just to start off by your why and your motivator. So when you're going into your practice and you're doing your charts, or you're, seeing, 30 patients that day, or doing X, Y, Z, you can come home at the end of the day and know, I did this today because of this. I did this today because of this motivator. And that, why I like to call it like that 30,000 foot view, is it helps you really keep things in perspective. You don't get lost in the what, that you remember the why, you remember the bigger picture, you remember the bigger purpose. So when we look at all of these things together, these 3 practice hacks, here's the end result you're going to get. By picking one distractor, you're going to be able to have more free time to do the things that you enjoy. By being able to define one game changer, you can stop turning your life off and you can turn your life back on by now including something back into your life again, by making one small simple change. And by creating your one motivator, you won't get lost in the what and the distractions anymore. You can think day to day of your bigger why. And when you do all of these things, you're going to feel so much more on. And these 3 small, simple, subtle changes are going to instantly make you feel like you have more of a balance between your practice and your life. And I'm going to say something I think is really important that I want to call out. You may be thinking, this seems really simple, Dr. Jen. These seem like really 3 really simple steps. Like, is that it? Is that all I need to do to feel like I have a life instantly? And I'm here to tell you yes. And sometimes the simplest things to do are the simplest things that people don't do. Are you doing these? I gotta ask, are you doing any of this stuff right now, right? And I'm guessing that you're not. And the great thing why we're here on this video together is now I can teach you this really simple 3-step framework to create and integrate these hacks so you can build better habits and create even bigger changes for yourself. Again, remember, this is all cumulative. So I can't wait to hear what are the end results that you get from this, right? What are your distractors? What's your game changer? What's your motivator? What's your bigger why in all of this, right? My hope is that the end result of this training is that naturally, as the title says, it's going to help you have a life instantly, but more importantly than that, you're going to feel more on purpose, more fulfilled, more satisfied, and you're going to feel like you have a better balance between your lifestyle and your practice starting immediately. So I can't wait to hear what you're experiencing from this. I can't wait to hear the results that you're going to get from this. And it's so awesome to share this with you because the benefit that I get out of it is it taps into my own purpose now and my own mission now, which is to show as many health and wellness professionals I can how to have a practice that they love, how to have a practice that's built around your life. And this is where it starts, baby. It starts with this first step and putting these 3 practice hacks into action starting now. So I'm going to let you get to it. I'm going to start to give you the chance now to go through the work, apply this, think through this, get these 3 hacks in motion. And before we go and before we wrap up this training, last but not least, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show up for you like this and to share this with you, to share these insights with you, because I can't tell you the changes it's made in my life, which is why I shared the examples I did, and the changes it's made in the countless health and wellness professionals I've now taught this to. And last but not least, before we go today, I'd love to hear from you. There's a comments feature below this video. Right at the bottom, go ahead and post me a comment. What's the one thing you got out of these 3 practice hacks? What are the changes that you want to make? What'd you get out of this video? How'd this video wake you back up? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how this is making an impact on your life. After the video's done, just scroll below, give me a little love in the comment section. Let me know what type of impact did this make for you. As always, it is such an honor for me to share with you how to build a practice around your life. Again, I'm Dr. Jen. Can't wait to have you put these practice hacks into action. And thank you again for the awesome opportunity to step up and serve you in a massively big way so you can start to have that practice and that beautiful balance so you have a life at the same time. I'll talk to you next time.